A 19 Delta is a Cavalry Scout, otherwise simply known as a Scout. The primary duties of a 19 Delta is going to be reconnaissance as well as security. So the reconnaissance part of that job for 19 Delta is usually the primary kind of focus, whereas an 11 Bravo focuses a lot on assaulting the enemy. 19 Delta kind of focuses on the observation part of it, so they can observe what the enemy is doing, gather intel, report that stuff back to leadership, and they can make plans for how to assault the enemy, for other actions of how to, assault that objective. So a scout will sometimes do, some assault stuff, but their primary job a lot of times is just kind of gathering that intel and reporting on what the enemy activity is that's going on in the area, maybe manning observation posts on the hillside or something along those lines. So to get into this job, it is available for active duty National Guard, but is not available for the reserves. Also, to qualify as a 19 Delta, an individual is going to have to take the Asvab score and score at least an 87 in the combat section of the Asvab. Now, the combat section of the Asvab is made up of word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, auto and shop, and mechanical comprehension. The training to be a 19 Delta involves attending OSIT, which stands for One Station Unit Training, and it is 16 weeks at Fort Benning, Georgia. A security clearance is not required to join the Army to become a 19 Delta. However, there are maybe some job responsibilities later in a soldier's career that may require them to later obtain a security clearance. As a 19 Delta, a soldier could expect to primarily be working with things like Humvees, the Bradley fighting vehicle, as well as Stryker vehicles. So a little bit of experience from me working with some scouts, some 19 Deltas. I have worked with quite a few of them. It is also important to note that just because in the name it says Cavalry Scout does not necessarily mean that you will be in a Cav unit. There are some cases of 19 Deltas just simply being in infantry units or other types of units, so don't expect that this automatically guarantees you to go into the Cav. Now, all of the experience of me working with 19 Deltas has been in the Cav, and primarily they use the Bradley fighting vehicles and do a lot of work with those Bradleys. Also kind of similar to the explanation that I gave in my 11 Bravo video for a 19 Delta for a scout, when they're not involved in, a field training exercise or in combat, back in garrison can be a little bit dull. They may be focusing a lot of work on either their Bradleys, their Humvees, maybe their Strykers, whatever vehicles they have, doing a little bit of training kind of just in the motor pool or around the area, and also doing a lot of those kind of crummy things like just having to mop floors and doing stuff, as they don't really have a large job to do when they're not involved in combat or in training. So it's going to be just a mixture of training as well as some of those kind of crummy details and crummy duties, as far as when you're not in a training environment or deployed. Now, for a 19 Delta after the Army, whether they retire or simply just ETS out of the Army, there are some, different opportunities they can get into if they want to pursue something very similar that would mainly involve maybe law enforcement or security. But also there are a lot of jobs, like especially working with the military, that don't necessarily have to reflect directly from what you did in the military, but simply just having that military experience and knowledge of how the system works helps out for either being an instructor, even if it's not instructing something that you did in the military, or even assisting with instructors. But also in some cases, maybe individuals that were scouts in the Army don't necessarily want to do that same job, and they maybe pursue other things by getting an education and changing career fields after they get out of the Army. So there you go. That is a somewhat simple breakdown of the 19 Delta, the Cavalry Scout. If you have any questions, leave some comments down below. If any of my viewers out there are previous 19 Deltas or current 19 Deltas, love to hear some experiences down in the comment section to help some of these future soldiers out that are interested in this MOS. So leave some tips. Don't make it all negative of your crummy kind of experiences as a 19 Delta. Give some good ones too. If you have some future requests for some MOSs to cover for MOS Monday, leave those down in the comments below, and I look at those to kind of determine which to cover next. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I got a couple recommended videos over here, as well as some great links down in the description to social media and more. I'm ChristopherChaos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya.